Welcome everyone. My name is Mike Hamilton from Trade the Easy Way. So I'm just going to pick my way through these markets and look ahead as we get further into earnings. So we kicked off a couple of weeks ago with the US main banks earnings season, and we have got things, organizations like General Electric, etc. this week. And so I'm looking at the NASDAQ on a weekly chart. So whatever happens to the NASDAQ, the rest of the market tends to follow. So that's why I'm starting with this. And what I'm seeing in this NASDAQ is if we stay above this 12,800, 12 and a half, as long as we stay above this, and we don't open and close underneath this on a weekly chart, then I think we can sustain this high. We are potentially still in a wave three, potentially, having broken up from here and then come back to retest it. So, you know, the 11,700 held down here and popped back up. So to sit on that support means we could wind our way up into the May levels from last year. All right, so like I said, we're sitting on support. There is an issue with volume. It appears to be some selling volume coming here. We've got a couple of weeks of lower closes for a start. So, but the key is we are holding this bar from 4 weeks back. So we are incredibly flat here. The volatility has gone right out of the markets, and we are going nowhere at the moment. Let's have a look at the Dow on a weekly chart. Pretty similar with the Dow in that you can see we're in this zone up here. So we've got all this resistance up here. We actually closed slightly lower last week in options expiry week. And RSI is midway. So the elastic band is not stretched one way or the other. We are, it's pretty neutral. And that's what you're seeing in the price action. We've got this neutral price action here at the moment. So if this is the direction, and this is a three-wave pullback into that directional wave, then this could potentially be a 1, 2, 3 back into those highs on the Dow, 37K. Again, it's all about this, we're very flat, so it's all about this key area here that we're in now. Can we hold it and push through it, or are we going to close underneath? Let's look at the FTSE. FTSE is sitting right on this resistance level. Now that's taken from March 18. Is that March? May 18. Sell in May and go away. So that's what happened on that period. Obviously, we are very close to May. So, this cyclically, this could be it. But just be aware that all the time we sit on these pivot levels, if we hold them, then the path of least resistance is higher. Right, let's switch tack and look at the dollar. So if this is a sell, so you can see we broke down here middle of March. The dollar does not look as if that's holding. We look as if we're going to come back and sink down into April 22 levels at this rate. That bodes well for the market. So we've got Fed on, I think it's the 4th of May. So I think that's going to be the pivotal moment. The markets think that the rate cycle has peaked. I think inflation is still stubbornly high, and I think the central banks are still going to want to chip away at the rates. But the dollar is saying otherwise. Don't often look at Bitcoin. Let's have a look at that now. So that's actually a sell signal last week. new high in this range, an immediate close underneath, but that's on a key pivotal support as well. So we gapped up here in 16th of Jan, completed the gap fill on the 6th of March, been on this little run and now put a lower close in on the back of that resistance from June last year. I still think this is not ready to go. I still think we're going to head for this 8700 area. But I'm not trading anyway. I'm not in Bitcoin at this point. Right, let's go across to gold. So gold had the huge move up on the 3rd of April. So we spent all of April just sitting in this above this support. So I think if we see this 1975 again, that is viable, and then we're going to potentially go right back up to those highs. And if we can break, we'll see 2200 and potentially 2350. Same with silver. Yeah, these are all weekly charts. Right, so let's now look at the euro and the pound. Let's try and get through as much as we possibly can. So this euro looks as if we're heading for 11,300. That looks like a sweet woo. And the pound is right up against that resistance. I think watch the pound. Let's just see if we tap the underside of that and lose our footing. I can see that sinking right back towards that red support line and back into these lows from autumn last year. So unless we can close above this trend line, if we tap the underside of that and close lower, then I will short that. Right, let's move across to commodities briefly. So the wheat looked on the daily chart, the wheat was holding up. Now we are at a lower close and we are sinking into this July 21 level at the moment. So I may need to bail out, ditch that. What else we got? Copper. So at the moment we've got a weak dollar and commodities coming off. So that is not what I expected. I'm expecting with the weak dollar, I'm expecting these commodities to sit up. So very surprised that the copper is drifting lower on this weekly chart. But if we come back and sit into this November price level and hold, then I will be a long-term buyer of that one. What else is moving? Orange juice still flying. Natural gas is sitting back. Natural gas is seeing a lot of buying. That doesn't normally turn until June, but that is a good technical level of support in natural gas. If you look here, April 21, we actually started bursting up. So we have got a history of, there's April, May 21, when we started this turn here. In 20, we started turning in May, July. So, I mean, we've already got 3 higher closes in that weekly chart. So I think there is reason enough to buy a dip in that gas. I mean, let's face it, up here in February, we pushed up. Okay, it's seasonally, this demand tails off, but I think gas is getting interesting again. Right, soybeans, quick look around, looking lower. And corn is looking lower. You can't hear me, right? Right, okay, let me just do a test here. Bear with me one moment. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Right, has that made any difference? Has that worked? No? Can you hear me now? Right, so I will continue. Right, let's look at stocks. Right, this Pan-African, it's good looking at these weekly charts. You can get an immediate feel for all the major barriers. This is we last time when we came up here in May 21, we poked through and then pulled right back into the autumn. We were up here in January and pulled right back. So this is a tough area for this one. But if we turn around and close above 1920, then that bodes very well. Let's stick with the miners, actually. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Let's have a look at Hochschild. So struggling with 95. I would leave that. That looks a bit done there. We've got a nice move off of 60 to 62. Griffin. Obviously, Griffin looks a lot better. Sentiment. Sentiment's been on a big run. Okay. Sentiment's got a lot of support here. We're up there at 125. If you see 95 again in that one, which will bring us back to November 22 levels, I think that's viable. Let's just look at a few retailers because online retailer Boo struggling. ASOS struggling. It's that's had a higher close last week. It looks like that might get to 10 from this 7.5 to 10. That looks like a decent possibility. Tesco's and Sainsbury's are sitting up. Been on a great run. On that 195. Let's cut across to EasyJet. EasyJet are telling us they are very busy, getting decent booking levels. And ABF, wow, that's been on a decent run. Yeah, we've got a buy signal down there at 1270. So markets are sitting up. Let's have a look at next. That's a resistance, but had a good run. I like basic materials, so let's look at Rio. I like Rio. This is a really decent area of support from the November 22 breakup. Yeah, so that is I really like this one. Man Group, commodity brokers. I think this 215, 210 is viable because I think we're going potentially back up to £3. So I think that is viable. FXPO, no. Right, so I like Rio, I like Man Group. Let's have a look at, remind myself where the housing market is. Very hesitant bar up here. I think this little run, this little move may be over. Galliards, Barretts. Yeah, so we've got a lower close on a lot of these weekly charts last week. So I like I'll look at some text in a minute. Bristol Myers, Man Group and Rio and a couple of miners are great stocks this week. They're my favourites for this week. Not much else. Okay. There was a couple other British stocks to look at. We'll look at the banks. Barclays. Any fall back to 145, 146. Looks good. It did have a lower close last week, but it sat in that previous week's range. So that's not a sell signal for me. Legal and General looks all right. Hargreaves Lansdowne. So pre-pandemic, we were up there at £21, and here we are just under £8. If that is a bullish level, then we're going to close above £8. I would watch for that to close above £8, which we've not done today. So I would back off and just keep an eye on that one. So I am going to leave it there. So there's a few stocks I'm interested in. All right, thanks very much for joining me, and I will update you as the week unfolds and look out for further alerts. Have a good evening, have a good afternoon.